Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, July 17th, 2014. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, brewing beer with Michigan ingredients. We visit with home brewers and pros in Grand Rapids who are beginning to take advantage of the emerging local hops and malt industry. If you're new to home brewing, would like to get into the hobby for the first time, check out our website, basicbrewing.com, where you can find archives of our audio and video podcasts and our DVDs, of course, to walk you through basic and more advanced brewing techniques. You can follow my rantings on Twitter. My username is Basic Brewing, all one word. You can find me on Facebook occasionally at facebook.com/basicbrewing.james, and our show page on Facebook is at facebook.com/basicbrewing. We're on the Google Plus as well. And thanks again to everybody clicking on the Amazon.com associate link on our basicbrewing.com site. You know how it works. Before you go Amazon shopping, go to basicbrewing.com, click on our Amazon ad. That will take you to Amazon, where you will shop as you normally do. The only difference is that you will be helping us to support this show. It won't cost you any extra, and we greatly, greatly appreciate everybody who's done that. We also have associate links for Brew Your Own magazine and the American Homebrewers Association on our site that work the same way. You can find our Basic Brewing iPhone app on iTunes, our Android app on Amazon.com. We're on BlackBerry Podcast Directory. We're on the Stitcher app. I think we have a Windows app. We're in the we're ubiquitous. Check out our Brewer's Logbook at basicbrewingshop.com. In the front is a blank calendar that, even though we are halfway through July, since it's blank, you still have 12 months of brewing to log there in the book. And there is also in the room in the back of the book to log the details of up to 50 batches of brew. If you want to put a tip in our tip jar, some coinage in our guitar case, you can go to basicbrewing.com/support. Thanks to everybody who's done so already. Since we're having a cold spell. It was 50 degrees this morning here in northwest Arkansas. Crazy. But don't let that fool you. It's still hot outside here in North America. And you can protect your precious beer with one of our growler bags. Check those out at basicbrewingshop.com. And for a limited time, you can get a free Basic Brewing bottle opener with the purchase of any of our DVD combos. We talked for a good long time for this week's show, but I want to jump quickly into the mailbag. I have to say, first of all, that I'm caught up with email. Finally. Thanks to procrastination and laziness, I was way behind after taking June off from podcasting. But it's all done. I'm all up to speed. You may remember in a previous episode that I read a question from somebody asking whether it's best to add grain to water or water to grain for an all-grain batch when you're doughing into the mash tun. I voted for grain to water. However, our buddy in Detroit, Scott Gouet, has a different opinion on the matter. Scott says, I always add water to the grain instead of the reverse. I started to do it that way not because I was worried about offending the enzymes, but because it was a lot easier. It's also the way you mix things in pretty much every other endeavor, and kind of like adding acid to water, not the other way around. You always add liquid to powder because it's a pain to get them to mix otherwise. In cooking, mixing concrete, etc. If you do it the other way, dry ingredients tend to form balls that have gotten wet on the outside and form this skin that keeps the inside dry until you manually break it up. This would be the dough balls people get worried about. If you go the other way, this is not a problem because the water never surrounded any of the dry stuff, so there's never a skin that seals it. There you go. Another camp heard from. I always add the grain slowly to the water and stir as I'm doing so to avoid the dough balls. And I thought of that question again myself, and I was just thinking, why don't I add water to grain? And another reason I prefer adding grain to water is on my brew system, I'm so low tech, I don't have a pump or a gravity-driven system. So I'm actually pouring hot water from a kettle into the mash tun. So I can't stir the water into the grain as I would like to. So it just works better for me to add the grain to the water. But different strokes for different folks. If you make good beer, it doesn't matter what you do, right? You know that Basic Brewing Radio. Oh, we have a sponsor this week, by the way. You know that Basic Brewing Radio is one great way to stay in touch with all things home brewing. Another great way to learn more about brewing better beer. Joining the American Homebrewers Association, more than 43,000 members rely on the AHA for great benefits like events, web resources, Zymergy magazine, and money-saving AHA member deals. As a not-for-profit organization, the AHA relies on members to support their work to promote, protect, and grow the homebrewing hobby. Whether you're an expert homebrewer or just getting started, visit homebrewersassociation.org to join today. Like me. Okay, let's move on to the meat of the matter. Earlier this year, I was contacted by Nick Rodimer, and he said that he and others were preparing to brew beers for the National Homebrewers Conference based on Michigan ingredients, and he asked if I'd be interested in sampling some and talking about them. Well, you're going to find the answer to that. I find this conversation especially interesting for two reasons. Number one, the beers were tasty, and it's always good to drink good beer. And number two, this is yet another indication that our options for ingredients as brewers are expanding. As new hop growers, malt producers, and even yeast manufacturers are springing up across the country. It's about 9:30 in the morning, or shortly thereafter. We're in the brewery of Mitten Brewing Company here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And the reason we're here together, Nick, introduce yourself and introduce everybody else, and tell us why we're here.
My name is Nick Rodimer. I am the vice president of the Brewskitos Homebrewing Club here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We'll kind of go around the room here. We have Eric May with us from Pilot Malt House in Jenison, Michigan, which is about 15 minutes out of town. Phil Pierce, who is our president of the Brewskitos Homebrew Club. Two brewers, Jason Warnes and Wob. Can't remember how to pronounce your last name. And then Max and Chris, the owners. So we all collaborated together here on doing a series of beers made with 100% Michigan-sourced ingredients, especially for the Homebrewers Conference, to sort of put our beer agricultural industry on display for people visiting.
And here on the basic brewing side of the table is Andy Sparks.
Always great to be here.
And Steve Wilkes.
Thanks, James. It's great to be here.
Steve and I spent about 2 years in the car yesterday.
Yeah.
Driving up.
Yeah.
We know each other very well.
Yeah. You need to get away from me.
I should also introduce our last person. We have Brian Tennis, who is the owner or president of marketing at the Michigan Hop Alliance and the owner of New Mission Organics, which is a hop farm in northern Michigan. He's joining us via phone today.
Say hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
It's experimental. He's up tending the hops, and so he can't be here with us. So what are the parameters? What did you wind up with? I mean, was it just open field to brew whatever you want to brew?
Well, when we were thinking about what to brew, you sort of have to work with the ingredients you have at your disposal, and because malting's a little bit, it's a newer industry. Hops have been growing commercially in Michigan probably for 5-7 years now. It's a little more advanced than the malting industry, so we're working basically with base malt right now. So if you think about an ingredient showcase, Michigan is the largest hop growing state outside the Pacific Northwest. So putting the hops on display felt like a natural fit. So what we chose to do is a series of single hop IPAs to give people an idea of what each variety tastes like and see if they can tell differences from Pacific Northwest versus what's grown in Michigan. And then we did a couple double IPAs with two different blends. We did one with sea hops. Another one features Michigan-grown Summit and Nugget and Chinook. And then we did a dry hop lager too. So we felt that was the best way to go. If people are going to be interested about what tasting a local beer is like, and they want to taste the ingredients, and if we're going to put the hops on display, it felt like that was the best route to go.
It sounds good. Shall we try a sample while we talk to Brian? Let's talk to Brian since you're the distance person.
Email me a sample.
yeah, we'll text you a sample.
Dropbox for you.
So Brian, tell us about your operation, and I would assume that this is kind of the sweet spot for growing hops.
Yeah, we've been doing it commercially for 7 years now here in Michigan. I think we were one of the very first farms to plant any commercial acreage pretty much in the Midwest. But, yeah, Our group is up to about, I don't know, like 55 or 60 acres. Half of it's certified organic, and we grow everything from Brewer's Gold, Cascade, Centennial, Chinook, Pacific Gem. We're doing a couple New Zealand varieties, a couple Japanese varieties, and my farm is one of the few farms in the United States that is growing Summit, which is a proprietary semi-dwarf variety that grows on short trellis and is about 10 or 12 feet tall. So, yeah, things are going great. Everything that we can grow is sold, and I would say 99% of the stuff that we sell or that we grow stays right here in Michigan.
Wow. Is there a historical background for growing hops around here?
Yeah, say 100 years ago, Michigan, Wisconsin, and New York were the leading hop producers in the country, and then we had a series of just bad weather events and some mildew problems that we couldn't take care of at the time, and that all moved out west to pretty much the Yakima Valley in really arid conditions, so they could control the mildew problems a lot better than we could at the time. But as we've gotten better at combating those disease pressures and mildew pressures, we're starting to see some of that come back to Michigan and Wisconsin and New York as well. And we've got the terroir, and we've got the climate to grow it. So it certainly is a sweet spot where we're at. We're on the 45th parallel, which around the globe in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere is the perfect spot for growing hops. So we're set up really good to have a long, successful run, I think.
Yeah, it's what are the challenges in getting started?
Price, for sure. It's a good $10,000 or $12,000 an acre to start, and the processing equipment is very expensive. We can spend $250,000 setting up a processing facility, and also a learning curve. We've only been doing it for 6 or 7 years, where some of our friends out in Yakima Valley have been doing it for generations. So we're still learning, and still honing our craft, but every year we get bigger and better.
We've had some contact with the guys over at Gorst Valley Hops in Wisconsin, and part of the issue was in designing equipment that was tailored to their scale and their operations. Have you come across those same things?
Somewhat, but we use different equipment than Gorst Valley. We actually use Wolf machines that we import from Germany or from Poland, and it's pretty much state of the art for us, because we can do 40 or 50 acres on these equipment or on these pieces of machinery. So what we're trying to do here is certainly a lot different than they do in the Pacific Northwest. They'll do thousands and thousands of acres. There's probably 30,000 acres in Yakima Valley, and we've got in Michigan probably 350, 400 acres. So our equipment needs are very different. They'll dry on a dryer that looks like a football field, where we're using more, compact pieces of equipment. But we can still produce some world-class products. It's just on a different scale. And
I assume we're tasting some of Brian's product here.
This first beer we poured is all Michigan-grown Chinook hops, which is one of the varieties that seems to do best in Michigan. And a lot of brewers say that it's a different character than out west. A little bit more citrus, a little less pine. And Brian can talk a little more about that. That's one of the varieties he grows at his farm. So.
Yep. Same with Brewer's Gold. The Brewer's Gold here we call it the Michigan Simcoe, just because it's so different than what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. We've got completely different climates and soil compared to the Northwest. They're primarily grown, like I said, in an arid condition where it's pretty much desert, where we're, we've got lots of rain, lots of water, and where we're growing in the Leelanau Peninsula, it's some of the best soil in the country. We're dealing with guys. One of our challenges is the cost of land up here. We're dealing with the price of land that it's very expensive because it grows grapes in the same soil. So a lot of the grape guys, if it's a good site for growing grapes, we're going to plant a ton of grapes in there.
This is a tasty beer, is it not?
They're very different.
This is a tasty beer, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, it is. It's really good. Got a nice crisp bitterness to it. Beautiful aromatics.
Busy drinking the beer.
We should note that we did a series of brew days for the homebrewed version of these beers, and this particular brew day we did on the AHA Big Brew Day back on May 3rd. It is the largest homebrewing event in West Michigan each year. It's held by Siciliano's Market, which is sort of the godfathers of homebrewing in West Michigan. Some of the best pro brewers in the area have started out working there, bought their ingredients there. So they bring about 50 to 55 different groups of brewers together on Calder Plaza, which is sort of the center of our downtown, which is literally across the street from where the conference is going to be held. So we did a big group brew. We mashed about 100 pounds of grain and split it off to 5 different kettles, added different hop varieties, and all the while battling rain and 20-mile-an-hour gusting winds. So the fact that we turned out some pretty good beers from that, I think, is it's pleasing considering what we were up against.
Yeah, this is a wonderful beer. It's nice and crisp. Excellent kind of sharp bitterness. There's a tiny bit of or a little bit of the piney stuff, but to me it's more of the citrusy kind of grapefruity kind of character. Boy, it's delicious.
Yeah, we did. I mean, because again think of the ingredients you're working with. We shot for something of a West Coast style IPA, so we shot for about 75 IBUs, but they were very heavy flame out and dry hop additions because we figured, doing this one time, we might as well go for it.
Oh yeah.
So, but I think it came through very well.
Yeah, it's very tasty. Should we rinse and go on to the next sample, and we can talk about Brian? Is there anything else that you want to add from the hop side?
Not on that one.
Now let's talk about malt. Now reintroduce yourself, Chris.
Eric May.
Oh, Eric, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Eric May from Pilot Malt House here in town, just outside Grand Rapids. Yeah, that's us. So, we just started in August. We got licensed through the Michigan Department of Ag in August, and about the next day, New Holland ordered 6 tons from us. So at the time, we were doing 200 pounds a week, and we had to figure out pretty quickly how to ramp that up. So, and then fast forward 8 months or however long it's been, and we're still here.
So describe your operation.
We'll see it shortly. It's small. It's 1,000 square feet. I feel like a hoarder when I'm there. It was kind of our attempt to put a product out there and see if it was a viable market and a viable business. And we were born 2 or 3 years ago by me just asking some questions about what's in beer and where it comes from geographically, and kind of kept moving forward and got some advice from folks as I went, and was looking for a reason not to do it, and I haven't got there yet.
So what's your capacity? Talk about the environment that you're working in.
Yeah, right now we're I think our capacity is about 1,000 pounds a week finished. So we're pushing that. We kind of shut things down right now for the convention. We're really wheat heavy right now. Last year we don't grow ourselves. We don't grow the barley or the wheat ourselves. We contract with growers. We had one grower grow 10 acres of barley last year for us, kind of as a trial. And then this year we have 65 acres in the ground at 4 different farms. So we're trying to work with farmers and work collaboratively with them to on their inputs and ultimately impacting the beer you taste months and months down the road.
So this seems to be the next phase of, I guess there are 2 phases, the kind of local hops and then the local malting as well. Is this area prime for your side of the agricultural side too?
It's certainly different than the hops. Obviously, somebody needs to have some acreage. With hops, you can grow an acre, and that's a lot. So we work with farmers that have potential to grow more as we grow. It's primed for it. A lot of growers have experience growing wheat. It's not that dissimilar. It's the same combine and things. It needs to be washed a bit. It's a bit more labor intensive on their end. And we have requirements. Last year, like I said, it was a trial year. We want to see where it goes. This year we put some pretty strict requirements on the end product, and we'll send it away to a lab to make sure it's ready, and we'll be all right. So, but yeah, it's this community or this climate and geography supports grains to be grown. So.
Is there the same kind of terroir, with hops? Obviously, the different areas of the country, the different climates, the different latitudes. All that impacts the hops. Does the same thing happen with the grain?
Yeah, for sure. Where we're located here geographically, we're right next to a lake that provides a lot of our weather patterns. And what we've noticed, even from a front of a field to a back of a field, can be a significant difference. If it's low lying, be a bit wetter, and the protein levels will be different. So certainly it tastes. We're not trying to duplicate Breese's 2-row. We'll never taste exactly the same, nor do we want it to. Breeze knows what they're doing, and we hope we do too, and hopefully it'll provide a Michigan taste on the mold end too.
One interesting thing to tack onto that, I found when researching the seminar I'll be doing on Friday at NHC about brewing local ingredients is at the Craft Brewers Conference in April, 5 different craft maltsters from across the country, I believe, 2 from Colorado, 1 from Massachusetts, 1 from Quebec, and 1 from North Carolina, all sent their grain to New Belgium and had them brew it on their pilot system. So they did the same recipe, 5 different base malts, one of which was actually millet, gluten-free. And they did a tasting panel and served it to the attendees at the conference and noticed pretty marked differences just by changing up the base malt. So it's very lightly hopped so that you could really taste the grain. So for instance, in North Carolina, there's a maltster called Riverbend Malt House, and they use a 6-row. Now, we all know the stigma that 6-row has for craft brewers. However, they grow a grain that is actually lower in protein than a lot of 2-row you will find commercially, and it does very, very well. In Massachusetts, for instance, that's a lot more wet climate than barley that's growing by the hundreds of thousands of acres in the Dakotas and Montana. So they have to grow a totally different kind of barley there, same as in Michigan. But that really reinforces what Eric mentioned about local terroir. It's a real thing. It's not something we make up to just to try to sell the product, but it's a very real difference, and it comes through in the beer in an absolute way. So I thought it was very neat that they put that on display, doing them side by side. So,
what are we drinking now?
This is actually, if you want to get Brian on again, he is the only grower of Summit hops outside of the Pacific Northwest. So this is Michigan-grown Summit, and he's the only grower you'll find in Michigan that's growing it. So this is all Summit hops.
So what do we expect to taste in this beer, Brian?
It should smell like wheat.
Wheat or weed?
Weed. No, it's going to be a very, very dank hop. It's funny, if you walk through this that hop yard towards harvest, you're going to get tangerine, green onion, garlic. It's a really earthy hop. It's very different, I think, than what's grown in the Pacific Northwest. Out there, it's got a much more pronounced garlic and onion flavor, where here is we get a little more citrus. But it's a cool hop for us to grow. Luckily, it's a proprietary hop, and through one way or another, we were able to get the rights to grow it. But there's 6 guys in the United States growing it, and fortunately, we're one of them. It's a semi-dwarf variety, so it only grows, on a short trellis, which makes it a lot easier to put in. But the yields are tremendous. I mean, we can get 2,000 pounds an acre and up from a short trial from a short trellis system, and it's just a big gnarly hop for sure. I mean, there's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no intricacies in this hop. It's like it's in your face for sure.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely resinous, I think is the word I would use. Wouldn't you, Andy?
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Definitely very reminiscent of some of the big hops from the Pacific Northwest.
I thought you were going to say reminiscent of something else, but
I wouldn't know what that smells like.
Yeah, I really.
What's that, Brian?
Everybody has to have a cash crop.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, I really do get the vegetal, the onion and garlic out of this, and it's a really nice beer. I'm curious. I've never used Summit hops myself. What are they normally used for in commercial beers?
We've actually done single hopping with it. You can use it. A lot of it is bittering, but we've found that with some of the Summit that we're growing, we can do single hop batches on it. So, but a lot of it is used for late addition. Extra alpha levels.
It's delicious. It's completely different from the first beer. I mean, the bitterness is about the same. I would say it's kind of a sharp bitterness, but the flavor and aroma characteristics are quite different. And Wob has brought in
All Summit, or was it Summit and Chinook?
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
Is it all Summit in this?
This is all Summit. It should be noted, maybe the irony of the first two we chose, but if you get a chance, Grand Rapids Brewing Company has a very good IPA. I believe it's won some gold medals that uses these two hops exclusively. Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, they won a gold this year for the New Mission Organics IPA. It's all Chinook and Summit from up here.
Cool.
With that one.
And Steve has his nose in a bag of hops. It has Black Creek hops on the label, and it says Cascades. How do they smell?
They smell like, wow, they smell amazing. They smell like citrus, piney really, and 7.2 alpha acid. That's wow.
Well, I guess we should talk to our hosts. Jason is over there. He's working. They've got a mash going back here in the back. But Wob, do you want to officially introduce yourself?
Yeah, I mean, my name is Wob. I've been brewing now professionally for 4.5 years, with the Mitten since we opened about just over a year and a half ago. I also run a small trial hop yard up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where I'm trying 14 different varieties right now to see how they grow in those climates. Keweenaw Peninsula, you never know. It's kind of a gamble up there. So I've done well with Cascade, Centennial, Chinook. Working on a few new varieties this year: Glacier, Columbus, Columbia, Ultra, among others. Just kind of interested in getting my hands in the agriculture part of it too. Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, I grow hops in Arkansas, but Cascade is the one that survives with me, and it gets burned out pretty easily because it's hot and dry in the summertime. But this let's talk about the brewery. This is a beautiful facility. It's in an old firehouse.
Yep, this was built in 1890. We're actually currently sitting in the old horse stable. Above us was the hayloft, and in the front in the tap room was where the action took place, and above that was where the firefighters slept. It's a really neat building. You could probably bulletproof. It's just built to last, and our little tiny brew house is, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but at the same time we use every little inch of space that we can. Currently we're brewing a batch of our walk-off wheat, which is an American wheat ale made with Michigan-grown Cascades and wheat from Pilot Malt House. So we kind of picked that one for today because we knew everyone was going to be around, and we wanted to showcase the local products for you guys. So that's why I brought the bag of hops out and give you guys all a smell and a taste of what we're doing. And this is a great building, great beer city. I mean, it's tons of fun brewing in this city, and we're also friendly to one another, that we get along and we make things like this happen. And obviously, guys, we wouldn't be here if we weren't on the map somehow.
Grand Rapids has been named as one of, if not the beer city of the country? Or?
Well, since the poll closed, I believe we are beer city forever at this point. So we'll take it.
The retired champions. Well, it's a 3-barrel brew system right now, but there are already plans for expansion.
Yep. So we we're nearing 300 batches on this 3-barrel system in just over a year and a half. So we've really worked this system as hard as we can, and it's been, we fill the tap room every night with people, and we're running out of beer constantly. So that's it's a good thing. We're upgrading to a 20-barrel across the street in a new production facility, which should actually be delivered next month sometime, and we should be active on that late July, early August. So it's going to be a jump, but at the same time, we need it. We're seeing what kind of gathering and following we're getting here, and we're trying to meet those needs, and we're actually going through an expansion of seating, too, which will bring about 120 more seats to our 85 that we currently have. So obviously to have that many more seats and that many more people, we need that much more beer. And also just minor distribution. We'd like to get out around the state a little bit more than we already are. We currently have beer on tap at Fifth Third Ballpark here in town, which is our Tigers minor league affiliate. And it's fitting for a semi vintage baseball themed brewery to be at a local ballpark. We get a lot of draw from that, and a lot of people really dig what we're doing over there, and it was fitting. So we're really glad to be over there. We're really glad to be expanding.
Well, it's cool that you're able to repurpose this wonderful old building like this too. I take it we switched beers. This tastes different. I was looking away and then I reached down and this tastes different.
So this next one we have is a dry hopped lager. It says a blend of hops, but the feature hop is Michigan Grown Cascade, about 5.5%. So it's a little bit lighter than the others you've tasted, but I think the Cascade comes through pretty strong here. It's a little hazier than the others, which is my fault because I forgot to add finings to it. I didn't realize that until 2 days ago.
I wasn't going to mention that. We're on the radio,
and for a lager nerd like me, that's painful. But I think it tastes pretty good. So and that's what's important.
Yeah, that's nice. It tastes clean. I mean, very nice.
It's nice, crisp and clean. No real fruity flavors that you'd expect from an ale. Delicious little beer.
Yeah, Andy said it all.
I'm going to have you go first next time.
I know. It's like, I got nothing to add to it. No, it's a really nice beer. It's really clean, and the grain comes through, but the hops are just as bright and happy as they can be.
Yeah, poor Eric. He's the grain is in the background of these beers so far, but it's a good foundation, though. So, Phil, talk about the Homebrew Club.
Sure, yeah. Brewskitos Homebrewing Club, formed in 2010, collection of friends and coworkers here in Grand Rapids. We currently have around 25 members, approximately 15 or so that are very active. We meet monthly. Primary purpose is to taste everyone's beers and give honest feedback. Everybody's, basically their goal is to brew better beer.
You've got to be excited about the local ingredients too.
Absolutely. I think that our home brewing club, as well as area brewers, are all excited to see the agriculture industry take off brewing-wise here in the state. So we will definitely be supporting that in any way we can. This project that we've done, I think, will be a good jumping point for that.
Yeah, no kidding. Mm-hmm. And all these beers will be, at least all the homebrew versions, will be at club night?
Yep, club night, Friday night here at the conference. We'll have all 8 of these on display.
Awesome. We will revisit them at that time. Have you guys moved on to another beer?
Yes, we are pouring now. That's water.
That's a light beer.
It was the Bud Light.
It's an American light lager.
We're moving on up. This is one of the double IPAs, and this is the one that features Summit and Nugget hops. So this is almost a 10% beer. We got great yield from the malt when we brewed on this day, and it came in a little bigger than we thought, but that's never a bad thing, at least in my opinion. So this is a very bold beer. It's got a pretty good malt character to it, but a lot of hop aromatics too. So definitely tell by the color that it's got more malt packed into it.
Yeah, this is definitely, even though it is another crisp, bitter beer.
Yeah, this one smacks you in the face with the hops. This is calculated IBUs of about 100. So we really, it's a very bold beer.
but it's nicely balanced. I mean,
That's what I was going to say. Once again, that's all right. It's really nicely balanced. It doesn't knock you over in one direction or the other, but the malt really comes through nicely too. It's just really got a good strong backbone to it, and really viscous. I mean, it's really got a good mouthfeel. Love it.
but at the same time, I don't think it's too syrupy. I think it finished nicely.
What Steve said.
Are there any challenges with brewing with the local ingredients so far?
Well, one of the things I did for a seminar we're doing at AHC is we surveyed brewers from around the country, sort of see what they thought. And one of the common themes that came back is that sometimes consistency can be very spotty. But I think that's natural for any industry that's so young. I mean, if you had talked about using local ingredients just 5 years ago, I mean, even we, being big craft beer fans, might have looked at you and went, what do you mean local malt? 5 years later, it's becoming an emerging trend, and I can't even imagine another 5 years how many different companies, how many people are going to be growing hops. I mean, there are about 20 malt houses, called craft malt houses, in the country operating, selling to breweries right now. There's another 15 in process, and that's just right now. And that's as of a few months ago. Who knows how many have opened since then? So, one of the wisest things I think I heard was the director of brewing operations at Founders, Alec Mull. He's a big supporter of Michigan agriculture, and they Founders is one of the biggest breweries in the country, so their needs are a little different than a brewery like the Mitten. So they need significant quantities of these ingredients. So they limit their use to their Harvest Ale, which is a wet hop beer they release every fall. And for the first year this year, they're going to be using mostly Michigan wet hops as opposed to hops imported from the Pacific Northwest. And the way he put it was, Yakima Valley growers are sometimes on their fourth generation for the farm. It's been the family for well over 100 years. In Michigan, we've been growing hops commercially for 5 to 7 years. So you have to have a realistic expectation of what that really means. Yes, we're early on. There's going to be hurdles to jump. But ultimately, the encouraging thing is each year the hops are getting better. Each year the malt is getting better. And the beautiful thing is brewers, growers, maltsters, they work collaboratively. So what the brewers want, they can give the feedback directly to the growers of the maltsters, and they can sort of fine-tune their product to what the brewers want it to be. In fact, a lot of craft malt houses are specifically malting grains requested by breweries. Now, if you're doing 5,000 barrels a year, breweries probably isn't going to do custom malting for you. However, if you can make a relationship with your local maltster, they may. So it's a unique advantage you can have by sourcing locally. There's just a lot of options that can open up. But I mean, the important thing is the issues that there are now. Price is another one. It's a little bit higher, and I think that you just have to expect. You pay a little bit more to go down to the farmer's market than you do to shop at a big grocery store. And a lot of brewers, quite frankly, that doesn't bother them as much because they like using the local product because it's different, and it's unique, and it's very specific to where you live. But those things are going to continue to get better, and don't say that out of hope. We say that out of track record because they already have been. So.
And Eric, talking about is what Nick said about the variability true? And if it is, does that mean that you have to have a closer relationship with your customers and kind of communicating about each year or each batch? Or
Yeah, for sure. The consistency is something that we focused on from the beginning, and our hands are somewhat tied in respect to the grain, and once we get it, the protein levels are pretty well locked in, and so we need to really work directly with our growers to get what we need out of it. And in year one, our barley was certainly usable, tastes good, provides a higher protein content, which does make it cloudy, and we explain that to guys. Don't expect a clear beer, and that's ultimately we hope to learn. We hope our growers learn, and we continue to get better. We work collaboratively with our customers for sure, and we have a guy growing millet and sorghum up north for us because a couple of them have asked for gluten-free beers, and it's going to be a trial, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out, but so that's the kind of thing that we're accessible, and we hope to hear what they want, and we can move forward with getting them what they want, if not overnight, hopefully pretty soon. So.
And Brian, I would assume that in the hop world, you have less flexibility in kind of producing a certain hop for a certain customer, but I would assume that customer relations are still important.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that we can now turn around and plant something and have a viable crop in 2 years gives us some flexibility. If there's a certain hop that a brewer wants, we can be up and running within 2 years and can provide them that hop, as long as it's not a proprietary hop, obviously, like whatever.
And 2 years sounds like a pretty tight turnaround.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a lot faster than putting cherries or apples or something like that. But we're now, instead of using rhizomes or the root cuttings from plants, we have our own greenhouses, and we can plant 2-year-old plants into those hop yards instead of rolling the dice with rhizomes and see if they come up or not. So the turnaround is, it's something that we've learned, over the last few years, how to get that hop in the ground and get it to market faster. And we've shaved an entire year off the process just by using our own plants.
Wow.
So yeah, it's still a learning curve, but we're getting there.
And just for the listeners, Brian was not swearing. That was a call coming in, I think, on the phone. We had some beeping on the line.
It wasn't an FCC thing, huh?
That's right. Standards and practices. We're getting one more beer.
Last beer here is another single hop IPA featuring Michigan-grown nugget hops.
Okay. That's a different character. Steve?
I get a lot of onion and garlic out of it, and it's a very nice beer. It's a pretty big beer. What's the ABV on it?
All of these came in at right around 7%.
The single hop beers, yes.
We started them right around, they weren't all perfectly the same, but about 1064. Yep. I'll finish around 1010, which puts it at about 7.
Sorry.
Surprise.
Yeah. No, I get that too. Kind of vegetal, little grassy notes maybe. Yeah, nice beer.
This is a good beer to have with dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just really would pair up with all kinds of meat eater food really well.
Well, I think these beers, if you were to taste them side by side, they really show off the character of the hops.
And that's what we're going for. And I think the takeaway at the end is some hops don't do really, really well just by themselves, but this gives you an idea of what you're getting. Mm-hmm. I think, if we were to find the perfect blend, we'd probably have 5 beers that would be, even better than the ones we have, which I think they're all very solid beers. But, ultimately, if we're looking to show off what do the hops taste like, I think we accomplished our goal here. So,
yeah. This is fun.
No doubt.
It's getting more fun with every glass.
Yeah. It's going to be a long day. Thank goodness for small samples. This is great. It's exciting that, to me, as a good beer lover, it's exciting that there's so much local activity, both on the brewing scene, because, we have breweries springing up in Northwest Arkansas, and they say, drink local beers. But there's a step beyond just brewing local, and it's great that you guys are taking advantage of the location to expand into that next layer of local ingredients as well as just brewing local flavors.
Yeah, one of the things I heard, when you say, well, people are like, oh, you're sourcing locally, that's new. Well, it's not really new. It's not so much as a new trend. It's a revival if you think about it. Where were brewers getting their grain and their hops from, 100 years ago? They were sourcing it locally. So we're really going back to our roots.
Awesome. Brian? You were going to...
totally concur.
Oh.
You see a lot of shirts that say, drink local. What exactly does that mean? Is it being produced locally, or is it being grown locally? Where are all the ingredients coming from? Obviously, the water's coming from here, which is critical. We've got some of the best water in the country. But when you add the locally produced malt and the hops, and now we're even seeing some action with locally produced yeast strains, you can't get much more local than that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, this has been fun. Amy?
Well, yeah, and I just want to make a comment that, it's really nice up here in this latitude. You can try to source everything local. In Austin, a brewery is going to struggle to source hops and even barley local, but does that not mean they're still local? This is a beautiful thing, and I love it, and the beers are absolutely wonderful, but support local is a good idea, too.
Yeah, and also, it's cool that even breweries in places like we can't grow hops around Northwest Arkansas, but it would be also, it's still cool that we have more places to source from. So it's not just in one area of the country. Not that I'm unhappy with the hops that are coming from the Pacific Northwest, but it would be fun to play with hops from all over. So
Exactly right.
everything's headed in the right direction.
We're very fortunate in Michigan, not only have a combination of people who care about the community that we're a part of. I mean, Wob mentioned it. People love working, collaborating here together. I mean, and if everyone's just excited about that frame of mind, then you throw in the fact that we're in the perfect latitude for growing hops. Barley's, showing a lot of promise here. You put all that together, and you got to consider yourselves lucky to an extent.
Well, just Michigan alone, with formerly the rich history in agriculture. I mean, that's again with the revival, but that's this state was kind of raised up on agriculture, and I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so I grew up seeing farms everywhere. Moved downstate, and you see fewer and fewer farms, and I love going back there on vacation and to tend to my hops, and just to go out there and just drive through the country and see these open fields, and one day hope that maybe they'll grow barley, or maybe they'll see what I'm doing up there, and maybe they'll grow hops too. I've already got some other interest from local growers in the area where I'm at, and they're going to actually be working with is it Gorst? Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's interest up there, and we're the more local the better, and that's what we're seeing. We want to try and use as many locally sourced products as we can, not only barley and hops, but I mean if there's local fruits or vegetables. I mean where Brian's at up in Omena, rich history in cherries, and obviously grapes for wine too. So it's we see a lot of apples in the state, so that makes for good cider making. We're just full of it here in Michigan, in a good way. In a good way, yeah.
That's the state motto, is it not?
We're not full of ourselves. We're full of it.
Okay. So we're pretty full of it in Arkansas too.
All right, that sounds like a good note to end it on. Before we dig any deeper, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming up.
Thanks for stopping in.
Well, that was a lot of fun. Thanks again to everybody who came together there at Mitten Brewing in Grand Rapids. What a cool place. There's so many cool places around Grand Rapids. And after that interview, we headed with Eric to Pilot Malt House to do a video tour of his operation. And you will see that next week on Basic Brewing Video. Very cool that Eric is able to use fairly low-tech equipment. I was surprised at how low-tech he is at this point. He's turning out base malt that the professionals are asking for. So very inspiring. You'll have to check that out next week. In the meantime, if you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to james@basicbrewing.com, or just fill out the contact form at basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. You'll find our new bottle openers on our shop. Our Basic Brewing growler bags are available. Protect your precious homebrew and craft beers. You take it from place to place. Check out our support link where you can throw a couple of bucks into the tip jar by subscribing financially to our podcasts. Be sure to check out our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and Introduction to Wine Kits. You can find them all on our site, along with combo deals to save you a few bucks if you want to buy more than one DVD at a time. And you'll get a free bottle opener included with your DVD combo, any of the DVD combos on our site. And you can check out our Basic Brewing shirts in the store too. Our brewers' logbooks are in the store. Keep track of up to 50 batches of beer. You can see a listing of the fine folks across the country who sell our DVDs on basicbrewing.com. And if there isn't a vendor in your area, you can order them online in our online shop at basicbrewingshop.com. And as we say every week, thanks to everybody who's continued to click on our Amazon.com link. We appreciate the support. Our featured products this week that were purchased through the link are Lava Signature Cast Iron Multi-Purpose Pizza / Crepe / Pancake Pan, and Natural Balance Canned Dog Food, Grain-Free, Limited Ingredient, Diet Venison, and Sweet Potato Recipe. That sounds pretty good. Thanks again, everybody. Remember, I can't tell who bought what, so no worries there. Just click on the Amazon.com logo on our site the next time you feel like Amazon shopping. We greatly appreciate your support. Don't forget you can also join the American Homebrewers Association and subscribe to Brew Your Own magazine through the associate links on basicbrewing.com. That's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dotson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. So long.